The rain hadn't stopped since the day they buried him. The air still smelled of wet roses and ashes, the kind they scatter over graves when love ends too soon. My husband, Ethan, was gone. My world gone with him. I thought grief would bring people together. But I was wrong. The very night after the funeral, his father, Mr. Grayson, looked me dead in the eyes and said, "The property reverts to blood family now." His words sliced through me deeper than the loss itself. I wasn't crying anymore, I was shaking. My hands, my heart, my future. All slipping away. But as he signed the papers to evict me, something caught my eye. A single folder with Ethan's handwriting on it. And that's when I realized. My husband left behind one final secret. The night after the funeral felt endless. The house that once echoed with Ethan's laughter now groaned with silence. Every picture on the wall stared at me like an accusation, as if I'd failed to keep him alive. His family had gathered in the living room, sipping tea and whispering condolences that felt as fake as the sugar they stirred into their cups. Then his father, Mr. Grayson, cleared his throat. "Kaya," he began, his tone colder than the rain outside. "You've done enough. Ethan's estate belongs to the bloodline now. You'll have time to collect your belongings." Froze. "What are you saying?" I whispered. He slid a set of documents across the table. Revocation of residency, transfer of property, bank access restrictions. All neatly stamped and dated the very day after the funeral. "You can't do this," I said, my voice trembling. "Ethan and I built this house together. He wanted me here." Mr. Grayson's lips curled into something between pity and disdain. "You were a wife by name, Kaya, not by blood. My son's gone. The Grayson estate returns to the family." The room spun. Ethan's mother, Sylvia, wouldn't meet my eyes. His brother Daniel smirked faintly, tapping his gold watch as if counting the seconds until I broke. They left soon after, their car lights flashing through the rain like knives of light. I sat in the dark, the papers spread before me, trembling hands tracing Ethan's signature. My eyes burned, not from grief anymore but rage. Then I saw it. A small corner of a blue folder peeking from beneath the stack of legal papers. Ethan's handwriting, slanted, messy, unmistakably his. Pulled it free. The label read, "Kai, private." My breath caught. Name. Only my name. Inside were letters, receipts, and a USB drive. The first line of the note made my skin crawl. "If you're reading this, it means Dad is already circling. Don't trust anyone, especially him." Tears blurred the ink as I read further. Ethan had discovered something about his family's foundation, a string of shell companies, and hidden transactions tied to off-the-books money. He'd been planning to expose them. Suddenly the eviction made sense. This wasn't about property. This was about silencing me before I found what Ethan had uncovered. I stared out the window, the storm hammering the glass. "You wanted a widow who'd stay quiet," I whispered. "You picked the wrong woman." I took the folder, zipped it inside my coat, and stepped into the night, not as a grieving wife, but as the only person who knew Ethan's final truth. By morning the storm had calmed, but the silence was heavier than before. I sat by Ethan's old desk, my laptop open, the USB drive trembling between my fingers. My reflection in the black screen looked like someone else. Hollow eyes, puffy from crying, but burning with something new, purpose. When I plugged it in, a folder appeared. Inside were dozens of files named by dates, mostly financial statements, invoices, and scanned contracts. But one was labeled simply, "Truth." Clicked it. Ethan's voice crackled through the speakers. "Kaya, if you're hearing this, it means Dad's lawyers moved faster than I expected. You need to listen carefully. Grayson Holdings isn't what it seems. The family money, it's dirty." My heart pounded. I leaned closer. "They laundered millions through fake charities. You know those hospital donations Dad bragged about? They were cover accounts. And there's proof in this drive. Emails, transfers, everything. But if he finds out you have it, leave. Don't confront him yet." The screen changed, Spreadsheets, screenshots, even a Swiss account number. My hands shook. Ethan had risked everything to gather this. He'd planned to go public. That's why his father wanted it buried, with him. I backed up the files onto a cloud drive. Then I made 2 copies on hidden flash drives. But as I turned off the laptop, I heard a sound. A faint click. The front gate. Then footsteps on gravel. I peeked through the curtain. A black SUV had stopped by the driveway. 2 men stepped out, dressed in suits. Grayson security. My stomach dropped. They didn't ring the bell. They used a key. Ethan's father still had access. I quickly hid the USB inside my coffee mug's false bottom. A little gift Ethan had made years ago as a joke. Then I hurried to the living room, pretending to have just woken up. "Mrs. Grayson," one of them said curtly, "we're here to escort you out. Mr. Grayson has arranged new accommodations for you." "Accommodations?" I repeated, feigning confusion. "Is he serious?" "He insists the property belongs to the Blood family." I smiled faintly. "Then tell him this blood still has a heartbeat and a brain." They didn't reply. One followed me upstairs to collect my essentials. My essentials. My husband's ghost. My stolen life. As I walked out of the house, the hidden USB still safe in my bag, I glanced once more at the portrait above the fireplace. Ethan's soft eyes, his crooked grin. "I'll finish what you started," I promised silently. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every sound, the ticking clock, the hum of the fridge, even my own breath, felt like surveillance. By morning, I packed a small bag and drove to the only place Ethan and I used to feel normal. Hollow Street Cafe, our weekend escape. The smell of burnt espresso hit me as I entered. The barista glanced up but didn't smile. The world had moved on. I hadn't. I sat by the window, scrolling through the files again when a voice said softly, "You shouldn't have that, Mrs. Grayson." Froze. A man in his early 30s sat across from me. Worn leather jacket, cautious eyes. He slid an ID card across the table. "Private investigator." His name, Marcus Dale. "Who sent you?" asked. "Ethan did," he said quietly. "Before he died." My throat tightened. "That's not possible." Marcus interrupted gently. "He hired me to trace missing funds and keep a copy of whatever he found. Said if something happened, I'd find his wife." "That's you." I leaned closer, whispering. "He said his father was hiding something." Marcus nodded. "More than something. Fraud, embezzlement, even bribery. And if I'm right, Ethan's death wasn't an accident. The car crash wasn't random. The brakes were tampered with." The world blurred. I gripped the table to steady myself. "You're saying his own father?" Marcus's eyes darkened. "It's a possibility. Ethan found evidence that could destroy the family fortune. And the moment he uploaded it, the crash happened 2 days later." Felt sick. My husband's warning now echoed louder. "Don't trust anyone, especially him." I opened my bag and slid the USB across. "There's more. You'll need to see this." Marcus hesitated. "If they know you still have it, they won't stop. Grayson has friends in every corner. Lawyers, judges, even cops. You're not safe here." "I'm not running," I said, jaw tight. "I'm fighting back. Ethan deserves justice." He studied me for a moment, then gave a small, approving nod. "Then you'll need proof that can't be denied." He pulled out a folder with photos, bank statements, hidden warehouses, secret meetings. One had a date scribbled on it. The night of Ethan's crash. Mr. Grayson was meeting someone. "Who is that?" I whispered. Marcus exhaled. "A man named Cole Vance. Mechanic. Fired 3 months ago. From Ethan's car service company." My heart stopped. Marcus found him first. Cole Vance, the mechanic who'd once serviced Ethan's car, now lived on the edge of town, in a small cabin that smelled of rust and fear. His porch light flickered when we arrived that night. I could hear the wind hissing through broken boards as Marcus knocked. No one answered at first. Then the door cracked open. Pair of bloodshot eyes peeked out. "Who's asking?" Cole rasped. "Friends of Ethan Grayson," Marcus replied. "We know what happened to his car." Cole's face drained of color. "Go away." I said nothing. I did nothing. I stepped forward. "You were there, weren't you? The night before his crash." His gaze darted between us, haunted. Finally, he opened the door wider. "Inside. But if anyone sees you here, we're all dead." The room was cluttered with old tools and cigarette smoke. On the table lay a photo of Ethan shaking hands with Cole, both smiling, the kind of picture that now felt like a ghost. "I didn't mean to hurt him," Cole muttered, rubbing his forehead. "Mr. Grayson offered me 50 grand to adjust the braking system. Said it was just a test." "A test?" My stomach churned. "A test that killed my husband." Cole's eyes filled with tears. "When I saw the news, I packed and ran. But your father-in-law's men kept coming. They wanted to make sure I stayed quiet. I was scared, Kaya." Marcus leaned forward. "Do you have proof?" Cole nodded weakly and reached for a box under the table. Inside were old invoices, a voice recorder, and a flash drive. "I kept everything. If I go down, I'm not going alone." I picked up the recorder, my heart hammering. "Press play." Mr. Grayson's voice. "Make sure it looks like a mechanical fault. The media loves a tragedy." Cole. "And if someone checks?" Mr. Grayson. "Then we'll remind them who funds the checks." The sound made my knees buckle. Ethan's death wasn't fate. It was family. I looked at Marcus. "We need to take this to the police." Cole laughed bitterly. "They'll bury it before you finish your sentence. You need the press, or someone bigger." He handed me one final envelope. "Ethan told me if anything happened to him, give this to you. He said you'd know when to open it." I held it tightly. My name written in Ethan's handwriting. I stared at the envelope as though it were alive. Ethan's handwriting curved across it softly. "For Kaya, when it's time." My hands trembled as I peeled it open. Inside were two things: a key card and a letter. "Kaya, if I'm gone, go to locker 313 at Crestview Bank. Inside, you'll find everything I couldn't say aloud. Don't trust anyone until you do. And when you find it, you'll finally understand why I had to act." My breath caught. What had he done? Marcus read over my shoulder. "Crestview's under Grayson's control. His company owns half their security contracts." "Then we'll go at night," I said. Marcus grinned faintly. "You've got more courage than most." We reached the bank after hours. Marcus picked the back entrance lock like he'd done it before. Inside, the air was sharp with metal and secrecy. Locker 313 sat at the far end. The key card beeped green. Inside was a sealed drive, another letter, and, my breath froze, a marriage certificate I'd never seen before. It listed our names, but beside witness was Mr. Grayson's signature. And a second page. A hidden clause transferring Ethan's shares to the surviving spouse contingent on moral eligibility. Marcus frowned. Moral eligibility. Meaning if they paint me as unfaithful, unstable, or unfit, I lose everything. And they already were. That eviction, those whispers, it wasn't just cruelty. It was strategy. The second letter read, "If anything happens, take this to attorney Reva Solon. She helped me draft a new will. It overrides everything Dad planned. She's the only one I trusted." I looked at Marcus. "We need to find her before they do." But as we left, motion sensors blinked red. The silent alarm had tripped. "Go!" Marcus hissed. We barely made it out before headlights swept across the alley. I ducked behind a dumpster, clutching the envelope like a lifeline as black SUVs swarmed the street. From one of them I saw him, Mr. Grayson, calm, deliberate, stepping out in his gray coat. He looked straight toward the alley. His lips moved just once. "I warned you, Kaya." The next morning my face was everywhere. Widow accused of embezzlement. Kaya Grayson stole late husband's assets. They didn't even spell my name right, But the lies spread like wildfire. Marcus slammed the newspaper down. He's faster than I thought. He's using the media to make you look insane. I paced the motel room, running my fingers through my hair. If they believe him, no one will hear the truth. Then we find Attorney Solon. She's the key. We drove 3 hours to a small coastal town. Her office was modest, tucked above a bookstore. Inside, a middle-aged woman looked up, eyes sharp, recognizing me instantly. "Kaya," she said softly. "Ethan warned me this day would come." I felt tears sting my eyes. "He left me a letter. Said you had the real will." She nodded, unlocking her drawer and pulling out a sealed envelope with the Grayson seal broken. "I've kept this hidden. If it's revealed, everything changes." I unfolded the document. Ethan's last testament. True one. It left all his holdings, accounts, and the Grayson estate to me. On one condition. The proof of his father's crimes must go public. My hand shook. He wanted justice tied to inheritance. Reva smiled faintly. Smart man. He knew exposure was the only weapon strong enough to protect you. But before we could celebrate, Marcus's phone buzzed. His face paled. They tracked the car. Side tires screeched. Black SUVs again. "Go, Kaya," he shouted. We fled through the back exit, sprinting across a market as shouts erupted behind us. Reva stayed back to stall them, yelling, "You'll have to kill me first." I turned once, saw her standing tall as they stormed in, and then we vanished into the maze of streets. "Ethan built this plan for you," Marcus panted. "Now you need to finish it." "I will," I said, my voice steady for the first time since the funeral. "And I'll do it publicly." My hands hovered over the keyboard. One click could change everything or end me for good. Marcus set up the camera in the motel's dim light. "Are you sure about this? Once you go live, there's no going back." He nodded. "That's the point." At 9:03 p.m. I hit start stream. "Hello," I began, voice trembling. "My name is Kaya Grayson, widow of Ethan Grayson. The man whose death you've all read about wasn't an accident. It was a cover-up." I showed the documents, played the audio of Mr. Grayson's orders, displayed the bank statements. "Here is proof of the crimes his father built an empire on, and the murder that kept it standing." The view count exploded. Comments flooded in. "Is this real? Justice for Ethan. Expose them all." Marcus whispered. "You're trending." But then static. The live stream glitched. My laptop flickered. A message flashed on the screen. "End this, Kaya, or you'll join him." "Trace it," I said quickly. Marcus typed furiously. "Signals coming from the Grayson estate. They're watching." My heart pounded. "Then let them. Let the world see what they do when they're cornered." I raised the letter Ethan had written. "My husband died protecting this truth. And I refuse to let his killers live free another day." The feed crackled back. My face filled the screen, tear-streaked, defiant. "To Mr. Grayson," I said slowly, "you said I wasn't blood. But tonight, the world will remember my name and yours." Police scanners started pinging. News outlets picked it up live. Within minutes, the story was everywhere. Marcus grinned. "You just broke the internet." Then came the sound, sirens. Blue and red lights reflected in the window. "Cops?" "Yes." He nodded. "But whose side are they on?" We froze as the door handle turned slowly. The door creaked open. Rain poured behind the figure that stepped in, Mr. Grayson himself. His presence filled the room like poison. The same calm, polished arrogance he'd worn at Ethan's funeral was there, only now his mask had cracks. "Streaming for sympathy?" he asked, glancing at the camera still recording. "You've embarrassed yourself enough, Kaya. Shut it off." I didn't move. "You killed your son." He chuckled low and cold. "That's a heavy word, dear. The world doesn't believe tears. They believe documents. And all the documents say you're unstable, reckless, and a thief." Marcus stepped forward, hand on his side. You should leave, Grayson. Everything you've done is out there now. Grayson's eyes flicked to Marcus. Ah, the investigator. Paid by my son, now playing hero. You'll be discredited before morning. His tone was casual, but his hand slid into his coat. My chest tightened. Don't, I warned. He smirked. You should have accepted your place, Kaya. Now you've started a war you can't win. Then the door burst open again. 2 police officers stormed in, weapons drawn. Hands where we can see them. Grayson's expression didn't change. You see. They still answer to me. But one officer ignored him and turned to me. Mrs. Grayson, we saw your live stream. We have orders from the DA to bring everyone in for questioning, starting with him. Grayson froze. For the first time his composure cracked. As they cuffed him, he leaned close, whispering, This isn't over. You'll regret this. I met his gaze evenly. No, I'll remember it. As they led him away, Marcus exhaled. You just took down a billionaire, Kaya. I didn't feel triumph, just exhaustion. Not yet. He has lawyers' influence. He'll claw back. Marcus nodded. Then we get ready for court. The courtroom smelled of wood polish and tension. Reporters filled every seat. I sat beside Marcus and attorney Riva, who'd survived the raid with only bruises and fury. Across from us, Mr. Grayson looked freshly pressed, confident again. His wrists free, his smirk returned. His lawyer, a woman in a crisp navy suit, rose. Your Honor, the defense will show that Mrs. Kaya Grayson fabricated this entire scandal for financial gain. My heart pounded. They played edited clips from my live stream, spliced sentences twisted to sound like confession. He didn't deserve this, I had said in grief, but they cut it to, he didn't deserve this, The implication was ugly. I whispered to Riva. They doctored the footage. I know, she said calmly. But we have the originals and digital fingerprints to prove tampering. Then came their witness. A woman in a gray dress stepped forward. Sylvia, Ethan's mother. She wouldn't meet my eyes. She's lying, Sylvia said weakly. Ethan told me she was struggling mentally. He wanted her taken care of, not trusted with assets. Hit like a knife. Almost gasped. Mr. Grayson smiled faintly across the room, watching me fall apart. Then Marcus stood. Your Honor, permission to present Exhibit 14A. He plugged in the same recorder we'd found at Cole's. Ethan's father's voice filled the courtroom. Make sure it looks like a mechanical fault. The media loves a tragedy. Gasps rippled through the room. Sylvia's face went pale. I looked right at her. That's your husband. That's who you're protecting. Tears filled her eyes. He told me it was just insurance fraud, not, she broke down before finishing. Grayson slammed his hand on the table. This is nonsense. That's edited. But the judge banged the gavel. Enough. Continue, Mrs. Grayson. I rose slowly. My husband died for the truth. And I will not let the man who killed him rewrite it. My phone trembled in my hand. The message had no sender ID. Just those words. Your next witness won't make it. Marcus saw my face drain. Who's the next witness? Cole, I said. The mechanic. We raced to his safe house, but by the time we got there, smoke was already pouring out of the small cabin. Fire trucks surrounded it. Cole's body lay under a sheet. My chest caved in. No. The detective in charge sighed. Looks like a gas leak. I knelt beside Marcus. It's not an accident. He's cleaning house. Marcus nodded grimly. We still have his copies, right? Yes, I whispered. But it's not enough. Without a living witness, they'll spin it again. That night, I sat in the motel, staring at Ethan's last letter. Don't trust anyone, especially him. But who was him? His father, yes, but there had been others in those files. Board members, executives, even senators. They'll all go down with him, I murmured. Marcus placed a hand on my shoulder. Then we need someone who can't be bribed. The press helped, but now we need federal. The next day we met with a journalist Ethan had secretly corresponded with. Amelia Rhodes from the Chronicle. She'd been investigating the Graysons for years. She listened quietly as I told her everything. Then she said, "You realize once I publish this, there's no going back. They'll target you harder." "I already buried my husband," I said. "What more can they take?" Amelia nodded. "Then let's burn the empire." The courtroom was larger this time. Federal. Cameras, guards, a sea of reporters. My heart thudded beneath the weight of truth. The prosecution laid it all bare. Fake charities, laundered funds, manipulated death. Ethan's recordings, Cole's files, Amelia's report. All of it connected perfectly. Grayson sat at the defense table, jaw tight, mask gone. The judge's voice echoed. "Mr. Grayson, you are charged with conspiracy to commit fraud, embezzlement, and involuntary manslaughter. How do you plead?" His voice cracked slightly. "Not guilty." I was called to the stand. My palms sweated as I swore the oath. I told them everything, from the night of the funeral to the discovery of the USB, to Ethan's last message. My voice wavered only once, when I said his name. The jury watched silently. Even Grayson avoided my gaze. When I finished, the prosecutor played the final piece. A hidden voicemail Ethan had left on his lawyer's line minutes before the crash. "Dad, if you get this, you'll never control me again." Gasps filled the courtroom. Grayson's face turned ghostly white. After hours of silence and closing statements, the verdict came. Guilty on all counts. I didn't cheer. I didn't cry. I just looked at Ethan's photo on my phone and whispered, "We did it." Grayson was led away, shouting, "You think you've won? You'll lose it all without me." But as the doors shut behind him, the courtroom clapped. Not for me, but for the truth finally spoken aloud. 6 months later, the Grayson estate was silent. The gardens were overgrown, the windows sealed, the nameplate tarnished. But it was mine now, Ethan's true gift. I stood in the hallway, sunlight spilling across the floorboards. Every echo, every whisper of the house felt lighter somehow. Marcus visited sometimes, bringing updates. The company's been dissolved. The charities rebuilt under new names. "You did it, Kaya." I smiled faintly. "We did it." I had donated half of Ethan's fortune to fund scholarships in his name, the Ethan Grayson Foundation for Whistleblowers. Justice shouldn't die with courage. In the evenings, I'd sit by the old fireplace with a cup of tea and rewatch Ethan's last video message. His smile flickered, frozen in pixels. "If you're watching this, Kaya, it means you made it. Don't let the darkness define our story." Sometimes I still cried, but not from grief. From gratitude. 'Cause I had survived the storm. I had fought for truth. I had turned pain into purpose. The world now knew Ethan not as a casualty, but as a hero. And me. I was finally more than a widow. I was a woman who refused to be erased. As I closed my journal that night, I whispered, "Rest now, love. The world finally knows." Soft music, fading outro. If this story taught you anything, let it be this. Silence protects the powerful. But truth sets the survivors free.